All right, this is the book of First Corinthians chapter 2, starting at verse 12. It says, "Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the spirit which is of Yahweh, that we might know the things that are freely given to us of Yahweh." Verse 13, "When the things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Ghost teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual." Verse 14, "But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned." Verse 15, "But he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is judge of no man." I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the elders of the nation of Israel. Shalom to you brothers out there that are laboring, enduring the elements, making your body a living sacrifice, trying to seal the elect, making your call and election sure, seeking out your own salvation, as well as you sisters that are learning, listening, applying, being obedient to your husbands. Shalom, shalom. Once again, it's the brother Zachariah coming back to you with another lesson. All right, here on this Monday afternoon, and Lord willing, this be edifying. Now, this is a little bit different than the norm. I did some art late last night. We had some storms come through, and I couldn't sleep, and and plus I was feeling ill yesterday, so I pretty much was resting or laying in bed almost the whole entire day. As I don't know if it was like a fever. I thought it might have been a migraine, but it turned out like my body, man, was, I was feeling really bad. But I feel a lot better today than I did yesterday. So all praises to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua for that healing. All right. But anyways, I was up and I did some art, and I'm getting excited, now, I'm starting to get my joy back into doing the art, being more creative and stuff like that. Because I ain't gonna lie, I was getting to a point where I was like almost done with it. Like I didn't want to fool with it no more. People be acting weird, funny on social media. Just a lot of weird stuff, and I mean, there's a lot of good, sincere people that look forward to the art. And that really motivates me a whole lot. Ultimately, it's the Heavenly Father. All right. But, very good people, man. And sometimes some bad apples can ruin it for everybody, But, I'm just glad that I ain't, gave up or just like, oh, man, I ain't going to fool with it no more. But I was feeling that way. Or even when I'm doing it, I'm not having no joy in it, but now, I'm getting my joy back. So I got a little overexcited and I was doing some art and I ended up pulling up this individual or just some art, and I based it a little bit off of this Mexican artist known as Frida Kahlo, which I want to go into that because something was brought to my attention which led me to deleting the whole post. And I was kind of mad. I was like, dang, I put a lot into that, but hey, I'll hurry up and do that because, you want to be mindful. Hey, this ministry, man, we don't want to be, jumping the gun too much, but everything about what we do is spiritual. All right. And so that's why I wanted to start off with that precept I did a moment ago. But I want to bring this out as well. This is the book of James, chapter 5, reading verse 16. It says, "Confess your faults." Because, actually, obviously, what was brought to my attention, okay, it obviously, this brother knew, and it brought it to my attention, and I thank him for that, all right? And because of that, now I'm like, oh, shoot, let me delete that, but I also wanted to do a lesson, okay? And then also, just to bring out what happened, all right, to let y'all know, hey, and then this thing, we're not perfect, but at the end of the day, we strive to be, okay? So, sometimes you might make a mistake. And I've even said this before because there have been times where I've done some art and somebody might have pointed something out in it that was off or whatever. And I apologize and everything. And some brothers, they was being sincere telling me. Some of them, they told me and then I ain't seen them ever again. So it was like, dang, like, you was just liking all my posts and all of a sudden you stopped. Like, did I do something, or because I did that and you just took that and cut me off, but I mean, it don't offend me. It is what it is. Hey, that's not everybody gonna, continue on with you in this walk, this journey. Okay, there was a whole bunch of brothers at one point. Shalom this, shalom that. And now you don't see them guys no more. They disappeared. And then you got some who's been around, from the jump. And then hey, and even if they all wither away, hey, there's going to be more that pop up, and you're going to find some really good diligent brothers in this thing. But I ain't saying that the ones that don't talk to me no more ain't diligent or nothing. It's just, hey, sometimes you're not everybody's cup of tea, and I'm fine with that. I'm at peace with that. At the end of the day, I just pray that, hey, keep doing the work and make your call and election sure so we can get up out of here, All right. But yeah, confess your faults one to another and pray for one another that you may be healed. The effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Absolutely. Okay. Now, this is the individual here, Frida Kahlo. All right. Which, like I said, I was getting excited. And then I was looking because I was listening to this one artist, which, a lot of the music I listen to is in other languages, different genres, some genres people ain't never heard of in the United States. But, I have a passion for music, and I've worked with artists all over the world before I came into this truth. So I'm well aware of a lot of different other genres, different music. I worked with artists, wrote songs with artists, all kind of different things. So, I like different music, but I heard a song and it was talking about Frida Kahlo, and I'm like, hold on, I think I heard that name before. And then when I seen this, I was like, oh shoot, that's that artist, but I didn't know too much about her. And then I saw where it said Mexican, and I got excited. So I was like, oh shoot, and I just made me think. I started looking over her art again, and I was like, I know I've seen a lot of her stuff, and I like, her work, But so I got excited and started doing those posts, and I did it late last night. But then I laid down. I had a few hours. I said, man, go and lay down. I got to get up in the morning, And then I woke up, checked my messages, and I seen where a brother had commented and let me know that, hey, she ain't Israel. So, and I went and did the looking and all that, and I seen it. So I was like, oh shoot! I instantly went on there, deleted that post, messaged that brother. All right, which he commented publicly, but I went into his inbox and thanked him. I don't want to do that, because I was deleting the posts anyways. But, I always rather like brothers, brothers and sisters, if something is off or anything, you are more than welcome to inbox me. You don't have to do it, not getting on that brother, but, you can inbox me on certain matters and we can discuss it in that way. It don't have to be out in the open. All right. I think a lot of times when people hear open rebuke, they think that's, which he wasn't rebuking me, but he was just letting me, hey, he was just, hey, hey, letting you know, bro, hey, she ain't Israel, So it was one of them situations. But, a lot of times I've heard brothers throw that out there, even used it to me. Open rebuke is better than secret love. And I'm thinking like, bro, you could have inboxed me that, because when you really go into the whole rebuking somebody, a lot of times, it's between you and that person. All right. So if that's between us, how is it open is you're being open about it. Hey man, I'm just letting you know, and we're talking. And, open don't mean like out in the open in front of the whole world. Now, if you were telling me and we're not getting anywhere out of it, then that's when others have to bring witnesses involved. One of those things. All right. But anyways, back to this. Yeah, man. So, man, I was like, dang, that's crazy. But hey, you learn something every day. Okay. I've even heard the elders where, these men been in this thing 40 years. I think, was it 30, 40 years? And a lot of them have said, hey, man, you learn something new in this thing every day. Okay. And they're talking about themselves. Like they even learning new stuff. You learn, every day. Because what the scripture says, knowledge shall be increased. Okay. But yeah, I got excited. And down here, it was, going to her name. And it says was a Mexican painter and cultural icon known for her self-portraits. All right. And works inspired by Mexican nature and artifacts. Okay. Which it said Mexican painter. So I instantly thought Issachar. Okay. Because we know when you go onto the chart. All right. And we know, just, going into the scriptures and history and everything that the Mexicans, which are the Aztecas, all right, they are the tribe of Issachar. all right, which would be your Mexicans today. Okay, so she would be of that tribe, okay, by way of her father. But see, what I just assumed, and that's not always a good thing to assume. You want to know, all right. But I also going to bring out another point regarding the whole wheat and the tares. We're going to get into that in this lesson, okay. But I just want to lay the groundwork with this, all right, and showing you like my faults, because this, hey, I'm taking my responsibility. This is, it's my fault. I'm like, dag, I should have looked into that, okay, because if I kept that up, that don't look good, all right. All right, y'all. So these are just like some clips. I'm just showing the clips. I did images too, but I just like to give it emotion. So I did that, and you know what I'm saying? I had one look be in the background, of course, with more hair on my head than I have now. But I was just doing some art, man. Now I'm all like, dang, it was the Edomite. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, see, doing that, and then I did my own. I was just showing like we are just gifted people, man. We're gifted, talented. All right. It says the portion of Jacob, Jacob's portion is not like the rest of them, man. All right. He said he's the former of all things. All right. But you got a lot of brothers that are artistic, and not just brothers, but sisters as well. OK. So that's all. I just did a little clips and stuff, but this is what I did, and I ended up deleting that whole thing. I still might end up posting this right here eventually, but the ones with her in there, nah, I ain't doing that. All right, but yeah, I just wanted to just show y'all, So that's my bad on that. So if anybody saw that, I know there were quite a few people that liked the post, and Salakif, man, my bad. I don't want to be putting the wrong impression or nothing like that, and I didn't know, I didn't know, but now I know, if you knew better, you do better, and now I know, so I'm do better. All right, I need to get back into, like I said, I was just getting a little excited, which is good. That's good for me to get that joy back and just doing art, and because I really love to do it, and I know it makes people's day. I still haven't showed my mom the stuff I did for her, so, but she's excited because she knows I'm be heading up there to visit, some of my folks up there in Iowa, this week, so actually in a few days. But, I want to show her some stuff. That just will put a smile on her face. And then I know she got a lot of compliments from sisters and stuff like that, even though she's not in this faith, but that could cheer her up, and she knows what I'm about and stuff like that. And she just, even though she's not in it and she may not believe, but she respects my beliefs, man. And so I give her that, but I think that definitely would put a smile on her face, just showing her that. And then also all the wonderful compliments she got from many sisters and stuff like that, which I appreciate all those sisters that said some kind words. Okay, but yeah, this is just what I did, man, and I'm like, dang, man, I feel bad. Man, oh man. All right, y'all. So basically, when the brother messaged me, he was telling me that well, he didn't message me in Salakia. He actually commented and just said that Frida Kahlo is Esau. That's all he said. So I was like, oh shit. So I went to look up. So I typed, I looked up Frida Kahlo's parents, which it says were Guillermo, all right, which Guillermo is Spanish, but it means William, all right, Kahlo. So his name would be William, all right, but it says Guillermo Kahlo, all right, a German-Hungarian photographer, all right, and then Matilde Calderon, all right, E. Gonzalez, all right, which says a Mexican woman of indigenous and Spanish descent, all right. But see, they put that Spanish on there, which, she's more than likely Issachar, the mother, but she's, our people were under the, the Spanish captivity, them Spaniards, okay? But she ended up getting with him. Now, unless the mother might have got with a guy in between him and had, because, even though this is portraying saying this is her father, that don't necessarily mean that it really is. There's a lot of people that grow up and thinking somebody's their dad, because it's a lot of times a woman, it'd be looking like a shame if a woman has a child and they don't have that father. So they might hurry up and marry, and then tell that dude, you see a lot of stuff coming out now where these guys are coming out and they're finding out that these kids they were raising ain't even their kids. You know what I'm saying? So hey, maybe she could be. I don't know. Okay, but who knows? All right. But yeah, her mother is supposedly Mexican, indigenous, which would be tribe of Issachar. All right. But the father is German and Hungarian, so he definitely Esau. All right. And says her mother was a devout Catholic, which that was put on our people. Okay. And it says born Wilhelm, if I'm pronouncing that right. All right. It says Kahlo in Germany. Okay, it says he immigrated to Mexico in 1891 at age 19. All right, he was hired by Mexican government to photograph and document national architecture. Okay, he was married twice. His first wife died. He then married Frida's mother, Matilde. All right, but yeah, this is that guy, and see, you can see the big mustache, so you would think, oh shoot, he might be our people. But I'm looking at that picture down there. He really looking like Esau right there. He just got that mustache, that look. All right. Yeah, he's definitely Esau. You can see that right there. Yeah, but this is supposedly her father. All right. So if that's the case, then yeah, she don't look nothing like him though. That nigga ugly too, man. He got a big ass head. I ain't trying to clown, but hey, he Esau. But I don't know. Hey, it could be. Cause I'm looking at the mother right there too, and she don't favor her mother either. She looked like she could be, somebody else's. That's the mailman's child. So I don't know. So I mean, those are things that you also got to consider just because it says that, but we go off of what we see, posted on there, but you never know. All right, y'all. So I wanted to come over here just real quick. And this is not put the brother on blast, but I do appreciate the brother actually telling me, I went on his page. Hold on. Let's see. I went on his page and, he was telling me, all right, I'm guessing he's Southern Kingdom. He might be like Judah or something. All right, but you can see he's got pictures with a lot of Northern Kingdom on there as well. So I was like, okay, that's what's up. I don't know what camp he might be with or nothing like that. But yeah, he has some pictures on there with some Northern Kingdom brothers and everything. Now I see the wolf. He might be Benjamin. All right. All right. Let's go back. All right. So I inboxed him. Okay, and this was early this morning. I said, appreciate that, fam. I thought she was Issachar, but you learned something new, all right, about these tares, because she's technically a tare. All right, if that is her father, indeed her father. But I said, like Bob Marley, I said, love his music and the message, but he is Esau, and that's why I brought out the point of Bob Marley, because, a lot of times, I mean, that's why I said, just because, if she is Esau, that don't mean I'm not going to not like her art. I still like her art. I think it's dope, at the end of the day. But, she's Esau, so you want to be careful because the message I was pushing, what I was putting out via the art was how our, the portion of Jacob is not like the rest of the world. All right. And he's the former of all things. And she ain't included in that if she's Esau. All right. That don't mean that her art and stuff ain't dope. What it is, it's still dope. I like it. Just like Bob Marley. We know Bob Marley's a tear, but there's still a lot of brothers and sisters in the faith. I've seen some of them listen to Bob Marley music, So, yeah, I said, appreciate that fam. I thought she was Issachar, but you learned something new about these tares. Like Bob Marley, love his music and the message, but he is Esau. I said, makes a good lesson. All right, the wheat and tares, which that's what this lesson is going to be about. I'll get to it in a little bit. But he says, yes, sir, Northern Kingdom got blitzed more than us by a long shot. But he said us. I guess he didn't know that I'm actually Northern Kingdom myself. I'm Gad. I'll be of the tribe of Gad. So I'm of the Northern Kingdom. All right. And my family come in all shades. All right. But it says got blitzed more than us by a long shot. Yeah, because there's more tribes with the Northern Kingdom. All right. And it says that's dope. You're open to knowledge compared to a lot of us, though, man. Yeah, because a lot of times people get mad and stuff. Like I understand a lot of these things. That's why I started off with that precept in the beginning. But I said you have a blessed morning, brother. So that's why I said he came in a sincere spirit, because I'm always about when people try to. I was trying to. That's why I inboxed him, because I wanted to try his spirit, make sure he was a brother being sincere and not just some brother that was looking to find something. Because I've had that in the past, and that took a lot of joy out of making the art and stuff, because dealing with that in this thing, it make you. I mean, of course, I'm not gonna stop teaching or nothing, but as far as the art, I was like, man, I'm about to be done with it, because I was really getting tired of that, But but this brother obviously was being sincere, and I feel that in the spirit, and that's why I thanked him, because I was very serious. I appreciate that. I didn't know, and I didn't want to have that up there and somebody else look, because maybe I was able to delete that for somebody that's on my page that's looking for something, because they are those type of individuals, okay? Which the Bible talks about, they be men crept in unawares. There's men be sitting on your page really looking and waiting for that, okay? That's like almost like their sole purpose. Like, if you ain't giving them nothing to call out on, then that there's no joy in it. They ain't on there to like posts or be a brother or nothing, But I replied after that. Okay, it says, Khan, they sure did. I said, me being Gad and knowing about that $5 Indian, the $5 Indian. I said, these devils are slick. I said, definitely appreciate you giving the heads up on that. I said, and likewise, have a blessed day, Ak. And then that was the end of that. But I like I said, overall, I appreciate him bringing that to my attention, because I was like, man, I didn't know, which I'll look into that, because I actually was preparing a wheat and tear lesson, which I still probably going to do another one. But because I had some other information and I wanted to go into it. But, definitely, with this situation happening, I wanted to, I'm going to go ahead and go into it. All right. So, yeah, this guy here supposedly is her father. Like I said, she don't look nothing like him. Now, she kind of favor her mama a little bit, maybe with that side angle. But even with that, I still don't know, man. It's like that dude, I don't know. He don't look nothing like, she don't look nothing like him, But, yeah, you could, especially when you look at these pictures right here, he's straight up, Esau. All right. But this is the book of Numbers, chapter 1, verse 18, because this is how you determine your lineage, okay? It is by the house of your father, okay? And it says, Numbers 1:18, it says, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees, right, after their families by the house of their fathers. You see that? According to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their poles, all right? So, just to break it down pretty quick, hey, man, you are the seed of your father, okay? The father, with that seed, you go into break down that of seed, it goes into sperm, sperm, all right? Because without that sperm, the woman can't get pregnant, okay? You're the seed of your father. That's why when you see the genealogies in the scriptures, it's all talking about the males, okay? That's very key. It's very important, all right? So a lot of our women, and that's something that you women got to consider, who think that it's okay to just go out there and sleep with any man of any nation. You do that, you're basically producing children for another nation. All right, because they're going to be the seed of their father. Like, look at Halle Berry. She thought she was doing something by running around, getting with these Edomite men. And then that guy that she had a child with, he calling her the N-word. But she's like, but you have a black child. And see, I think the dude that slept with her, he might be one of them elites or something. He's in the know. That's why he's like, hey, I don't care what you say. At the end of the day, that child is the seed of the father. So he knows, even though my child might have like what they call melanated skin, it's an Edomite. Okay, it's nothing. It's just like I said, Bob Marley. We brought him out. Tracy Ellis Ross is another example. Her father is actually one of them Amalekites. I think his name is what, Steinbach or something like that. That's her real last name. She's taking her mom's name because her mom's pretty famous, Diana Ross. But she's really, her name should be Tracy Ellis Steinbach or whatever it is. That Stein. He's an Amalekite. All right. So Diana Ross, she didn't just get with anybody. That dude, he's one of them. He one of them Amalekites. They got money. All right. And see, them Amalekites know that you are the seed of your father. Okay. But there was a lot of these Edomites. When our people came over from West Africa, of the Southern Kingdom, Esau had his way with a lot of those women too, man. Okay, and in some cases, children were being brought forth, and with that, those children, like for example, let's just say Esau got with it and messed around with Eve, and she had a child, and it was a son. All right, so he might have that what they call a biracial look, but he's still in captivity because these Edomites that were over here, they didn't know any of that. Okay, now Amalek and them might have knew. But hey, they didn't know that. So hey, he was getting tossed right along with the rest of them. That's why you see it in those movies. But see, now a lot of them understand you're the seed of your father. So hey, no matter what they look like, but that child being under the mother and still under the captivity, all right, as well, he might go ahead and marry an Eve. But if she produces a child, that child might come out, but he's going to come out a little bit darker than he is. And it just keeps going and going and going and going. Next thing you know, you got a chocolate covered Edomite, even in today's time. Because I had some old video clips. I wish I still had them, but I lost them when my phone crashed a few years back. But there was one where these Jamaicans were actually saying that their lineage goes back to a so-called white man. And they're, I think like the grandson of them or whatever, but he's, that family that was saying that's of his mom's side, but his father's side, so he's in the spirit of like, how can y'all be happy about, like they was happy about that, smiling, and he's looking like, it bothered him because it went back to slave owners, and then I saw another clip that I actually had. There was this one where this dude, he looked like Benjamin Franklin. And he was, he looked like Benjamin Franklin, literally. And he was crying because he was like, he found out that like his great-great-grandfather or something was a so-called black man. And he was like, how come nobody told me? But I'm thinking, I knew the answer to that. I'm like, why would they tell you? Our people were being targeted, and obviously, he probably, y'all came out to where, complexions change. You start looking like an Edomite, which that happened a lot. You see that a lot. And even, what is that? Tyler Perry had a movie where that situation happened, where that Jake, he got with that girl, which she was actually a tear, but they had a child and the child took on that mom's look. He came out looking like an Edomite, but it really is a Jake, and that happens a lot. I got and I don't tell a lot of my personal business, but I have he's an adopted brother. My mom has him, but, if you going off of skin complexion and all that, or look at him, you would think just Esau, just because you're going off of skin complexion. But, my mom says, his biological father is a Jake. He's a black man, So, which you are the seed of your father, which he's got that woolly hair and all that and stuff like that. But still, at the end of the day, you're the seed of your father. All right. And then, like I said, I was talking to that brother and I mentioned Bob Marley, which just for y'all that are new in the faith, just showing y'all this is Bob Marley's mother, but that's his father right there, Norval Marley. All right. And he actually was that's a young picture of him, but he got he got with the mom when he was upper in age. She was young when he got with her, but he was much older. Look, I think it says it right here. Yeah, she was then 18 and he was in his 50s. Okay, so he got with a young woman, and then he had Bob Marley. All right, this is 2 Corinthians chapter 6. I'm gonna start at verse 1, but I believe the point is like in verse 4. But I just want to get a little context. Okay, because like I said, I've been apologizing and saying my bad on that, but I want to let that be known. Because one of the things you don't want to do is put a stain on the ministry. All right, and this goes into that. All right, but it says, we then as workers together with him beseech you also that ye receive not the grace of Yahweh in vain. Okay. Verse 2, it says, for he saith, I have heard thee, all right, in a time accepted, and in the day of salvation I have secured thee. Okay, behold, now is accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. Okay. Actually, verse 3, Salakia. All right, it says, giving no offense in anything, that the ministry be not blamed. Okay, so yeah, all right, we don't want to put blame on the ministry. We don't want to put a stain on the ministry, and that's a very heavy thing. So that's why I hurry up and deleted that, and then I want to do this video because I don't want nobody to get the wrong impression about me, But we don't want to give no offense in anything. And it says that the ministry be not blamed, okay? Because we are, wholeheartedly, trying to preach this gospel and bring it out in its purest form, okay? But like I said, I got overexcited with that art, and that can happen, and some things can get past you, all right? But it's a blessing when you have brothers in this faith that can bring something to your attention, okay? This is the book of Matthew, chapter 13. I'm going to start at verse 9. And it says, who have ears to hear, all right, let him hear. All right. And the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables? Okay, because Yahweh Shai spoke in parables. All right. He said, he answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. But to them it is not given. Okay. So the Heavenly Father is given it unto us. All right. The men of the Lord. All right. Verse 12, it says, for whosoever hath to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, all right, from him shall be taken away, even that he have. Okay. Verse 13, therefore I speak to them in parables, because they seeing not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. Okay. And that's a blessing that you're able to understand. See, and that's why I say I'm able to see this in all the different angles. I even went into I did this in another lesson, because even with the fact that she's a terror, or we believe, according, like, if that guy truly is her father, then he is she would be a terror. I know for a fact that there's a guy that's in this faith. And I ain't gonna say, well, he's like the realization, that the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans are Israelites. All right. But I don't know if he's going into the whole, he understands the seed of your father type thing, or he's part of a group, which the way that the type of garment he was wearing, it looked like he might be with GOCC, possibly. All right. They call on a higher, which I don't remember if he was saying those names or not. But I've even seen him say Yahweh and all that on his stuff. He was calling on all the different names. So he's kind of all over the place. But anyways, this is a guy that I did music with, okay, over in Louisville. So I know this guy pretty well, and I knew about his family, and I know that his mom is a Israelite. Okay, she's a so-called black woman, but the father is an Edomite. All right, so he would be Esau, but he was raised around his mother and his cousins and all that. So he's around Jake, and Jake over there waking up, so he's around them. So they might be telling him about this gospel. But the thing about it is that it's depending on who you learn it from. And I know GLCC teach that all nations can be saved. Okay. So, because I was like, hold on, wait a minute. I know this dude for a fact is Esau, but he's calling all the names. He even said Yahweh before, but he got, he's wearing the fringes and all that. He's married to an Edomite, which, hey, he's in his right. He's an Edomite. So he would go get with his own people. All right. But, his father is Esau straight up, like I said, I know this guy. Okay. But, it's crazy, so these things can happen. But what I'm about to go into tells us what we're supposed to do regarding the wheat and the tares. All right. Because even some are going to come amongst us, even in this ministry. That's why you even have, they tell you, brothers, they mention agents, even tares. All right. But it says in them fulfilled, or in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. All right. It says, which saith, all right, by hearing ye shall hear and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see and shall not perceive. All right. Verse 15, for this is a people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing. That's our people. All right. And it says in their eyes, and that's why that brother was like, man, it's a blessing. Like you have, like, some wisdom and knowledge, like you understand, and like I said, Esau, I wasn't like, oh, I didn't know, I didn't know that she was, because I didn't think to look, which I normally do that. But like I said, I just got a little overly excited doing the art and stuff, getting my joy back again, which that's a beautiful thing. That when I have my joy, I could really tap into the art and stuff. But lately, I've just been kind of feeling kind of down. It's been too much. People acting crazy. People acting weird. It's all kind of, and I don't like that type of energy. All right. All right. But it says, are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed. All right. Lest at any time, okay, they should see, all right, with their eyes and hear with their ears. All right. And should understand with their heart and should be converted. All right. And I should heal them. All right. Verse 16 says, but blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. All right. For verily I say unto you that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see and have not seen them. All right. And to hear those things which ye hear and have not heard them. All right. All right, y'all. Salakia. This is the one right here. I was up there a little too up top. All right. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 13. Now jumping down to 24. OK, this is the point. All right. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which soweth good seed in his field. OK, you see that? So he's giving them another parable. It says, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. OK, having his way with the women. All right. And bringing forth tares amongst our people. OK, this is literally. All right. It says, but when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. All right. So we had some tares amongst our people. We look on, wait a minute. OK, verse 27. So the servants of the household came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then have it tares? OK. Verse 28, he said unto them, an enemy have done this. Okay, the servant said unto him, Will thou then that we go and gather them up? All right. So this is the point. Is it our job to go and gather up these tares? Because a lot of times we get into pointing out who's an Israelite and who isn't. All right. But this is what the scripture says regarding the wheat and the tares. All right. Let's continue reading. Verse 29. All right. But he said, nay, talking about no. All right. Lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. And why would it say that? Okay, those that have wisdom, you're going to understand that sometimes these tares, when you know about tare and wheat, they can look almost identical. All right. So you got a lot of examples. Like I was going to go into one in a lesson where like I actually had a picture where you have Tracy Ellis Ross and you have that one girl. What's her name? She's a very attractive woman too, by the way. But she's what's her name? Tessa Thompson. All right, Tessa Thompson. She played in a lot of different movies. She was in that the Creed movie. But her and Tracy Ellis Ross, when they were together in the movie, or not the movie, but in a picture side by side, they can pass as sisters. Now they don't look alike, but the way they had their hair done up. And, their complexion, everything, they just look like they could be sisters. OK, but there was a picture that I had that I seen online or whatever. I think it was on Tracy Ellis Ross's page. But I seen it and I was like, oh, shoot, and I didn't know it was Tessa Thompson, but she was posting that with her in it. And I'm like, they could have passed as sisters in that instance. All right. But we know that one of them, when you go into Tessa Thompson, her father is I believe he's Panamanian. All right. He's from Central America. All right. He could be very well the tribe of Zebulun. All right. Or he might be of the southern kingdom that got put over there during the transatlantic slave trade, the 1619. But, but if he's, indigenous to the land like the rest of them, he would be part of the tribe of Zebulun. All right. So But that's her father. He's Panamanian. Okay. Now the mother is Edomite. Okay. But that's the point, is that, when you're trying to pull out who's who, this person or that person, or they're not dark enough, you got some dark skinned people that you're gonna be surprised. Some people you thought was Israel, and they can be terrorists, man. Okay, so that's what that's talking about. So it's not our job to uproot, pull out the tares and all that. But again, it says, but he said, nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. So see that? So that's why we're not to do that. Okay. Verse 30, it says this. All right. It says, let both grow together. Okay. Even if they might come around us in this truth and stuff, eventually they'll wither away. I've heard brothers say this in old videos. They can only fake the funk for so long before they just wither out. They just fall out of this thing, but you might have some diehard agents. They might be in this thing hanging to the end, but if it's a Jake, then, hey, hopefully he might get converted. He might say, hey, this is the truth, because what you going to report? All brothers do is just teach his Bible. Okay. We ain't doing that. We ain't plotting or doing nothing crazy. We just teaching his word, because that's what we commanded to do. All right. But it says, let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of the harvest will I say to the reapers, and this is going into the angels. All right. Gather ye together first the tares and bind them, all right, in bundles to burn them. All right. They're going to be putting that fire because they ain't going with us. All right. It says, but gather the wheat into my barn. All right. And that's symbolic for the chariot. See, he speaks in parables. Okay. So there you have it, man. And that's basically the parable of the wheat and the tares. So that's what we're supposed to do regarding that situation. All right. But at the end of the day, all right, this is what we all should be really focused on. Now, of course, we do bring out certain things just to show our people for edification, because a lot of times our people get in this mindset that the skin folk, all skin folk are kin folk. But there's a saying that says not all skin folk is kin folk. And why is that? Because it's actually true. All right. Because our people want to gravitate to everybody and hold on. Y'all looking at skin color. All right. And it's not about that. You are the seed of your father. But that whole Frida Kahlo thing, man, I was really messed up about that because I don't want to put a stain on the ministry. All right. So that's why I'm doing this lesson. But also it's an edification in it. OK. All right. But this is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, starting at verse 13. And this went longer than expected. But it can be that way. All right. But I'm going to go ahead and end it with this. All right. It says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Yahweh and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. So it's not our job to sift out the wheat or the tares from the wheat. OK, that's not our job. All right. That's the reapers, aka the angels. It's not our job to do that. All right. Now, it says let them grow together because, somebody say, well, that's a terror. We remove them, this and that. That ain't our job, man. OK. And only time will tell. Like I said, and I was looking at her, as I said, she don't look nothing like that dude. She don't look like her mother like that either. So I'm thinking that she could very well be an Israelite. Who knows? Maybe she is. All right. And she just, don't, that the mother, she could have been, getting around, not trying to put that on her, but does a possibility. And that happens a lot. People be growing up thinking that somebody's their father. And then you find out that, the whole time it never was. I'm not trying to, put my mom on blast or anything, because I know, she had her reasons. She got into it, her and my dad, they just didn't work out, but, they ended up divorcing. But my mom really had this hatred for my dad so much that, when she moved on and got remarried, we were young. I was a newborn when my parents got divorced, so I didn't get to know my father till I was about 8 years old. I'm just bringing this testimony. That's just showing you an example. Well, my mom, she's like, I'm going to make sure my children have a father in their life. She's the type person, she'll move on to the point where like even my father ain't going to know, where we at or we know about him, So we grew up thinking that my mom in her second marriage, that the man she was married to was our father. That's what she told us. And that's what she went with. But my grandmother, that's why I said my grandmother raised us. She ended up getting us. And my grandmother wasn't going for that. She always stands for like truth, and that was And a lot of those principles my grandma had are instilled in me. You want to stand on truth. But she's like, no, this is your father. And she had like wedding. These are photos we never seen. We were like, yeah, that's mom, but who's this guy? And she's like, this is your dad. This is your father. And it was just wow. But my mom was mad at my grandmother for that. But my grandmother's like, you can't tell them kids no lies or nothing. They have to know their father. And my grandmother was right. She's standing on principles. But my mom just had that hatred for my father so much, but I didn't get to know who he was till I was about 7 or 8 years old, man. Okay. So that just shows you an example of how, you can grow up thinking this person is your father and never was, So that could be the situation with Frida Kahlo, and it, with her being a dope artist and stuff, you would love, hey, if she is Issachar, then she can come, she's gonna be the doors will be open, for her to enter into the kingdom. But if that dude indeed is her father, then hey, it's not gonna end well for you. The kingdom's not for you. All right. But again, it says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Yahweh and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Okay. Verse 14, for Yahweh shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. So again, my bad on that, y'all. For those that may have seen it or whatever, if you didn't, then hey, it is what it is. But I'm just bringing this to your attention. Hey, the Bible just says, confess your faults. All right. And that's what I'm doing with this lesson, but also turn it into something that's edifying unto the people. All right. So with that being said, call all Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praise unto Yahweh. Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakodash. Double honors unto the elders of the nation of Israel, and shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. And to the next one, shalom.